So I'm very honoured to do this talk, this Blavatsky lecture, on living a spiritual life in challenging times. So we are all aware of the challenging times we live in, with wars and rumours of wars the world over. Trying to live a spiritual life in the midst of all this conflict is more essential than ever. The world needs some love and compassion, and a light in the darkness. So this talk looks at ways we can put this into action. The key to everything, to me, is when the Masters wrote that they wanted a brotherhood of humanity, a real universal fraternity started. And this is evidently the reason why the Theosophical Society was founded, and the Theosophical movement in general. They were concerned with the way society was going, and decided to release a portion of the previously esoteric teachings solely so that certain people would understand the motivation and use what they learned to help bring about that result. Mahatma Gandhi said in a speech in 1947, "In the midst of darkness, light persists." In the midst of darkness, light persists. It is very easy to become lost in all the many fascinating teachings we have from H.P. Blavatsky and the Masters, but we should never forget that the main focus of all of our studies and meditations is to find ways to put all that we learn into practice for the benefit of humanity as a whole, by self-induced and self-devised efforts. We are all different, and we can all use our unique individuality to discover ways to make use of the teachings in positive ways that will eventually dissolve all those illusions that separate us on many levels of being. Ultimately, we will come together in a true spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood. Theosophy leads us towards an understanding of our responsibility to the planet we live on and all its inhabitants by revealing to us our oneness with all beings. It is this interconnectedness that is our inspiration to try to live a truly spiritual life. There are countless signposts provided for us in the spiritual and mystical literature of many traditions throughout the world and over many centuries. We just need to try to adapt those teachings to our lives in the most effective way possible to each one of us individually. One of the most important practices for us all to do is to start to think of ourselves more as spiritual beings rather than the material ones that we have all been conditioned to regard ourselves as. Also, to try to see our brothers and sisters in the same way. This may be difficult, given the nature of certain individuals in the world today, but that is the real test. Can we see the light in them, despite their apparent evil? Does that light even exist? At least we can try to find that light within our own hearts, and thereby do our best to illuminate the dark places of the world, inner and outer. Rumi, who I absolutely love, Rumi's my favourite, one of my favourites, as long as I've eaten a few other people, he says, "Don't you know yet? It is your light that lights the world." Don't you know yet? It is your light that lights the world. Beautiful. There has to be a solution as to why there is so much hatred in the world and so little love. HPB says in the Key to Theosophy, if the action of one reacts on the lives of all, and this is the true scientific idea, then it is only by all men becoming brothers and all women sisters, and by all practicing in their daily lives true brotherhood and true sisterhood, that the real human solidarity which lies at the root of the elevation of the race, can ever be attained. It's interesting that she mentioned sisterhood as well, though. In those days, it always seemed to be brotherhood. Why are we so afraid of each other? So many tragedies, people killed in wars and acts of terrorism. Everyone who dies is somebody's son or daughter, or husband or wife, or mother or father. The perpetrators shut out of their minds any feelings of compassion or love, and driven by some political or religious ideology, are willing to kill or maim their brothers and sisters for something that is ultimately of no real importance. A will-o'-the-wisp in the grand scale of things. People fear what they hate and hate what they fear, and so create barriers that prevent them from looking into the hearts of their fellow pilgrims and seeing that the light that shines in them is no different from the light that shines in you and me and everyone. These people smother their souls and become less than human. Because unless we are touched by the beauty of the soul, we wander in the dark places of our hearts, devoid of pity, devoid of love, devoid of understanding. Politics and religion divide, or the exagerated ones, and make their adherents intolerant of other ways of thought. We have to come to realise that we need to be aware of the spirit in everyone, and that has nothing to do with man-made religions or philosophies, which reflect the attitudes and prejudices of those who have created them. How wonderful it is to break free and breathe the clear air of the spirit and soar above the morass of modern so-called civilization. I often use Plato's saying, many people will remember this, I've used it quite a lot. Heaven-sent madness is preferable to man-made sanity. Heaven-sent madness is preferable to man-made sanity. Because to be regarded as sane, we have to follow certain rules and regulations and act in certain ways. If we are inspired by the divine self, we may act in ways that are regarded by other people as being insane. And this has happened to a lot of very spiritual figures throughout the ages. We have to act in a certain conditioned ways to be regarded as sane. And these are based upon a misunderstanding of our true nature. If we act spontaneously under the guidance of the higher self, as I've said, we'll be regarded as insane. Because those who judge have no awareness of the spiritual dimension to our being. So to them it will seem like madness. We are often oblivious of the effect that the media is having on us, and how little most people actually think for themselves. The majority of human beings are good-natured in many ways, because the feeling of oneness cannot be completely crushed out in most. But we are still bombarded with images and ideas that are not our own, although we may think they are. In fact, in many cases, thinking they're our own, they actually belong to someone or something we saw, heard or read many years ago, which has disappeared from our conscious memory, but is rooted in our subconscious. This is one more proof of our oneness. Everything we do affects everything else. So how do we live in the light of our spiritual self in a spontaneous manner? If we are immersed in this society, as most of us are, it is not an easy question to answer. Most of us have our duties to fulfill, to family, friends, and to our fellow human beings in general. We are on this planet to learn and to grow, either spiritually or materially, whichever we choose. If we choose the former, then we should focus our attention on those things that help to awaken our awareness of the spiritual side of life. Beautiful art, poetry and music can help us also absorbing the beauties of nature, having a nice walk in nature. In Japan, you have the Shinrin Shoki, which is called forest bathing. And doctors even prescribe it in nature, for bathing. On a still higher level, meditation and the reading and practice of spiritual literature is essential. We must also learn to see what our fellow human beings are in reality, behind the masks they wear. We talk about the personality, but the word persona actually means a mask. That's the meaning of the word. So the people who developed that word must have known it was masking something. Know that if we criticise anyone for their race, religion or colour, that we may have been in the same position in a previous life, or maybe in a future one. What connects us is the spirit within, which is identical in everyone, every single person. Our fellow human beings will not be judged by surface appearances. Everyone has their own journey, and we do not know what another is going through that may make them angry, withdrawn, or even bitter. We must always remember that deep inside them is brooding the true spiritual being, and that we must seek to be aware of it, often the chance bring to the surface with kind words, loving thoughts, and gentle treatment what is truly within them. Not being concerned with short-term results, just be compassionate, be loving, be caring. Seeds have been planted that may sprout in this or future lives. We must elevate these from mere intellectual concepts to the realm of enlightened practice and understand that the reason these teachings were given out to us, it was so that we could become aware of the true dignity of human nature and its place in this evolutionary scheme, and to realise our relationship and responsibility towards all the other kingdoms of nature, not just the human kingdom. Find the beauty in ourselves and see it in others. Find the beauty in ourselves and see it in others. An appreciation of what is truly beautiful and therefore illuminates the mind and draws it towards the soul. And through the soul to the spirit is the talisman and the golden thread that leads us out of the labyrinth of our earthbound thoughts and into the pure air of our highest aspirations. Can we truly see what is behind the veil of illusion and into the world as it is, and not as we have been conditioned to see the world? Can we become aware of the wonders of nature that are obscured by the selfish goals by those who will destroy its beauty to gain transitory material goods? These will not outlast the brief time we are here in this life and have no real meaning in the scale of things. There is nothing more meaningful and beautiful than the light kindled in our hearts that will illumine the world we live in and reveal to us the love that transforms and can awaken in others an awareness of the light in their hearts. Those who are willing to follow this often hard and thorny path are those who are pledged to try to end the suffering of those who wander in darkness. Yet these must have found the love and peace that is beyond the suffering. Otherwise, what have they got to give and to share? Beyond the seeming darkness, there is perpetual light, and only those who have discovered this can safely enter the self-created hell of others to shine that light in the gloom and lead the way to a deeper understanding, one that tells that all the suffering affects only the transitory physical self and not the higher self, which is in a constant state of meditation, in a place of safety, like the eye of the storm. Now, on the subject of love, Leo Tolstoy, the Russian writer, writes, "Whether the employment of violence or the endurance of evil will be useful or harmful, I do not know, and no one knows. But I do know, as every person knows, that love is well-being. The love of others for me is a blessing, and still more is my love for others. The supreme bliss is my love for others, and not only for those who love me, but as Christ said, for those who hate me, offend me, and commit evil against me." However strange these things may sound to someone who has not felt this, it is so, And when you think about it and experience it, you are only surprised at how you could never or ever have failed to understand it. Love, true love, love that denies itself and transfers itself to another, is the awakening within oneself of the highest universal principle of life. But it is only true love and affords all the happiness it can give when it is simply love, free from anything personal, from the smallest drop of personal bias towards its object. And such love can only be felt for one's enemy, so he says, for those who hate and offend. Thus the instruction to love not only those who love us, but those who hate us, is not an exaggeration, nor an indication of possible exclusions, but just an indication of that opportunity and possibility of receiving the supreme bliss that love gives. That this must be so follows logically, and one only needs to experience it to be convinced. Then instances of offence and assault become valuable and desirable. And thus, having perceived the essence of the human soul, we see that it works in such a way that responding to evil with evil makes it suffer, whereas responding to evil with love leads to the highest attainable bliss. And that's the end of quote. That's from The Law of Love and the Law of Violence by Leo Tolstoy. It's what Jesus said, love your enemies, bless those that curse you, pray for those that despitefully use you. And Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred, hatred only ceases by love. So what is violence? How did it arise? And why do we allow its existence? It has nothing to do with the spiritual life at all. It has arisen only because of our misunderstanding of our true nature. The world goes crazy with man-made violence and cruelty. It becomes more difficult to those on a spiritual path to maintain their equilibrium. But in the end, the good, the true and the beautiful will triumph over the will-o'-the-wisps of human insanity. This is because there is a light that never goes out, as the Smiths say in a song. There's a light that never goes out. In the Bible, John 1:9, there is mention of the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, and of course every woman as well. In a wider sense, it is a light that illuminates not just men and women, but every living thing, and grows brighter as the vehicle it shines through becomes more refined and is capable of bearing witness to this light, and with it casting a ray of hope into the hearts of those who are struggling in that darkness, and helping them to make some sense of their lives. We must therefore learn to understand the transience of the material world and of our lives within it, and the fact that the power will never strive for the true man and woman, the spiritual being. He says in the voice of the silence, have perseverance as one who doth for evermore endure. Our future is one of ever-growing beauty and light. We cannot conceive of the worlds that we will dwell in, or the wonders that we will see and feel on our pilgrimage, once we are free of the grip of the material self. To reach this, we must not run away from the trials of life, but face them bravely and overcome those things that hold us back, those mind-forged manacles that William Blake writes of. If we flee, we will have to return until we have dealt with the problem. The way is not easy, but if we learn to love and understand our fellow pilgrims, then we will never be alone on the often misty road that we travel together. As I think Ram Dass said, we are just walking each other home. I like the expression, we're just walking each other home. We must always be ready to lend a helping hand to those who are struggling on besides us. HBB writes, from strength to strength, from the beauty and perfection of one plane to the greater beauty and perfection of another, with accessions of new glory, of fresh knowledge and power in each cycle. Such is the destiny of every ego, which thus becomes its own saviour in each world and incarnation. That's from the Key to Theosophy, page 155. So this gives us great promise for the future if we are willing to place ourselves under the guidance of our higher self and live in the light of our spiritual nature. It is all a great adventure with no end in sight, as far as our limited senses tell us anyway. But on this planet here and now, the first and foremost task we should undertake is to learn to live together as brothers and sisters, regardless of race, creed, sex, caste or colour. Because as the Theosophical motto says, there is no religion higher than truth. There's no religion higher than truth. So the world, and very often the media, portrays this world as very much a place of darkness and negativity. We have so many dystopian books and films. Have you noticed that most films can be very dystopian and negative and violent? We gain a very negative view of this world. But the world is what we make it, how we look at it. And if we transform our consciousness, the world also transforms. To be light in the perceived darkness is very important. To be light in the perceived darkness is very important. Now, paranoia is a word I came across quite recently. It is the opposite of paranoia, and is the feeling we might have that all is working in our favour. It's called paranoia. In the world of spiritual teaching and practice, it is said that everything that happens to us, seemingly bad or good, is actually meant to help us on our way, if only we are able to use the experiences in a positive way. The modern world conspires to make us feel depressed and pessimistic at the violence and cruelty that surrounds us. But it is essential that there is a nucleus of souls who are willing and able to look at things differently and thereby help in the healing of a troubled world. Aggression is not the way to get one's point across. That is what many groups are doing. Unfortunately, no matter how worthy they are, it is really adding to the storehouse of anger and negativity in this world. We may feel righteous anger at some of the atrocities that go on in the world, but this needs not become aggression. It can be used to initiate positive changes for the good, and in the end, only love is beneficially transformative. Only love can save us. Another song from the Quintessence. And also, all you need is love. What do you remember the song? All you need is love. Is everything working ultimately towards a happy ending? Or are we on the path to self-destruction, as these many dystopian novels and films portray? The word dystopia can be said to be the opposite of utopia, which depicts an ideal society where everything is perfect and peace and happiness reign supreme. Many critics say that such a state is impossible on this earthly plane of being, and to believe in such an Arcadian society is mere folly. The truth is that the golden age is all around us and within us, despite Hindu teachings saying that we are in the age of Kali, or darkness. But Kali is not just the destroyer, but also the regenerator. The world becomes what we envisage it to be. Materialistic politicians, religious leaders and scientists see only wars and violence as a solution to the world's problems. Mountains made out of molehills in the majority of cases. Lack of perspective and failure to see the beauty and dignity of human nature behind the mask of personality. If we believe in a better world, then the seeds can be planted, whether it takes years or centuries for them to sprout. So what has made the world as it is? Only the misguided thoughts and action of those with power, but who lack wisdom or compassion. The ordinary man or woman in the street has become infected with pessimism due to the media focusing on the negative news stories around the world. The world may not be heading for the destruction that films portray if we are able to recognise what we are in essence, immortal and indestructible beings. Even those who do not believe this would surely rather leave something positive behind when they move on. no matter where they think that is or isn't. H.P. Blavatsky again writes concerning the year 1888, but applicable to any year, man's life is in his own hands. His fate is ordered by himself. Why then should not 1888 or 2025, any year, be a year of greater spiritual development than any we have lived through? It depends on ourselves to make it so. This is an actual fact, not a religious sentiment. In a garden of sunflowers, every flower turns towards the light. Why not so with us? In a garden of sunflowers, every flower turns towards the light. Why not so with us? She also says that we should try to make life not only beautiful, but divine, and vow no longer to be hampered by disbelief in the possibility of this miracle, but to commence the Herculean task at once. Can we all turn towards the spiritual light and make it our guide? End times that are spoken of with finality may indeed also be beginning times, a time of regeneration and transformation. The world moves on, and as suggested by the word pronoia, everything is working towards the good. It's up to those who are aware of their spiritual nature to make use of that knowledge and understand the power of the Spirit to transform, uplift and inspire. Once we become aware of what it really means to be human, then we will be unable to think of doing any harm to our brothers and sisters. It is only a misunderstanding of the true nature, as said earlier, that creates this illusion of separateness, the great illusion of separateness that weans us from the rest, as the voice of the silent says. And this causes so much havoc in the world today. Try to see the beauty rather than the ugliness, those things that lift the spirit and make us contemplate a better world. Poets, writers, artists and musicians have all attempted to express this beauty, and spiritual teachers have given us guidelines to realising the higher self. If we can understand and appreciate all living things upon this planet at their true worth, then we will no longer be antagonistic to anyone or anything, or exploit nature merely for material gain. Of course, at the moment, this does seem like building castles in the sky, but in reality, to create a world of love and peace is achievable if people believe in the possibility and set about making it a living reality in their daily lives. The beneficial power of the Spirit is many times more potent than even the power of the mind, and the two working together can bring about what seem like miracles. So we need to awaken to what we are in reality and to what we can achieve with true faith in our higher self. Always try to be optimistic and focus on the good, the true and the beautiful through all the many trials of life. We are one in essence, and in union is our true strength. No matter where we are on the path, no matter how dark life becomes, there is always beauty hidden somewhere. When evening falls and all mellows into a serene stillness and the setting sun casts amber light over the earth, we can sense that beyond the cacophony there is something eternally silent and magical that nothing in our material form can touch. There is something we can love that takes our soul into realms of increasing wonder and excitement and enchantment. It's as if we have awoken from a long sleep and are seeing the world anew. Yet most people, in their quiet moments, have their visions and their dreams, unless they fill their lives with constant noise, inwardly and outwardly. They have moments of bravery, kindness and love, which come in manifestations of the higher self, breaking through from time to time. Another quote I use is from Pythagoras, who said, "Take heart, for the race of man is divine. Take heart, for the race of man is divine." And H.P. Blavatsky wrote that no true theosophist ever despairs of humanity. No true theosophist ever despairs of humanity. A theosophist is one who travels a true spiritual path and is not necessarily the member of any society or organisation. The HPB said there are actually more theosophists outside the society than in it. It's how a person lives that makes them a theosophist. So we can see there are so many individuals and groups trying to bring a little sanity back into this world at the moment when insanity seems to reign supreme. The effects of efforts on a spiritual plane, as I've said, are much more important than ones on the material level, as these remain grounded and have no wings to soar. The race of man and woman is indeed divine, and we need to start to regard it as such if we are to bring a golden age back to this earth. Goethe wrote, "My friends, the golden age has passed away. Only the good have the power to bring it back." My friend, the golden age has passed away. Only the good have the power to bring it back. So the earth follows certain cycles of time. But this does not mean that they are deterministic. There are wheels within wheels, and we can affect the course of events by our meditations, thoughts and actions. If we really want a golden age, we can bring it about. It is a strange anomaly that the world seems to want the opposite at the moment and works towards creating a hell on earth. Even most religions are preoccupied with gaining converts and denouncing other ways of thought that do not coincide with their own. They've forgotten the teachings of their founders. But love and light can win the day if we forget all our petty differences and work together as human beings to bring an end to wars and conflicts. Let us then not underestimate the power of the Spirit to bring about these changes and affect the very atmosphere that surrounds us. It is such positivity that is needed to stop seeing life as a meaningless burden and begin to discern the eternal path that leads us to the heart of the universe. Now, Sri Radhakrishnan writes, "When all seems lost, light from heaven breaks, enriching our human life more than words can tell. A sudden flash, an inward illumination we have, and life is seen fresh and new. When the divine birth takes place within us, the scales fall from our eyes, the bolts of the prison open. The Lord abides in the heart of every creature. When the veil of that secret sanctuary is withdrawn, we hear the divine voice, receive the divine light, act in the divine power. The embodied human consciousness is uplifted into the unborn eternal. The incarnation of Krishna is not so much the conversion of Godhead into flesh as the taking up of manhood into God." Fantastic words, fantastic words. In theosophy, we have a much different interpretation of the word God, of course. It has little to do with the anthropomorphic idea of a being outside of us, who tends to get very angry if we do not bow down and worship him, and exacts a terrible revenge on those who oppose him. Our concept of God is the God within each one of us, which is the embodiment of pure love and compassion, not the angry God of the Old Testament, that destroys people if they fail to worship him, or he gets angry and jealous. That's supposed to be Jehovah's supposed to be a kind of tribal God that makes people have to be said. So this is much more soul-satisfying than to rely on something or someone external to deal with our problems. If we know what we are, that is in charge of our own destiny, and that we are far from being weak, miserable sinners, as the Bible tries to tell us, exegetic Christianity states that we are without the inspiration and help of an external force. In Buddhism, there is the teaching of self-power and other power. Self-power is relying upon one's own limited thoughts and meditations to progress on the spiritual path. Other power would suggest relying on external Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but esoterically it refers to our Buddha nature, or our higher self. There's a poem by the 14th century Sufi poet, Hafiz. Now I love Hafiz, Rumi Hafiz, which are my favourite poets, along with someone called Lala, who's an Indian poetess, and Rabindranath Tagore. In the West, I like Herman Hesse as well, he's a really brilliant poet. So Hafiz says, "I have learned so much from God that I no longer call myself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist or a Jew. The truth has shared so much of itself with me that I can no longer call myself a man, a woman, an angel, or even pure soul. Love has befriended me so completely, just turned to ash and freed me of every concept and image my mind has ever known. Fantastic. Perhaps I'll repeat that, I think. I've learned so much from God that I can no longer call myself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Jew. The truth has shared so much of itself with me that I can no longer call myself a man, a woman, an angel, or even pure soul. Love has befriended me so completely, just turned to ash and freed me of every concept and image my mind has ever known. That's everything in a nutshell. I need to only say that would have been, people would have complained if I just contained 5 seconds. But maybe not. I remember Bankier, the Zen master, going to give a lecture, and outside a bird song started to sing, and he said, "That said everything," he just walked off the stage. Amazing. Identifying with a certain religion, philosophy, or way of thought creates divisions. We have to learn that the higher self is beyond any kind of conceptualization, and we need to live in the light of that impersonal self. However, impersonality does not automatically mean to be cold and distant, as the word may imply. The quote I sometimes use again is from Robert Crosby's book, The Friendly Philosopher, who was the founder of the United Lodge of Theosophists. In this book he states, "For practical purposes, if we are developing the child heart, if we are learning to love things beautiful, if we are becoming more honest and plain and simple, if we are beginning to sense the sweet side of life, if we are getting to like our friends better and extending the circle, if we feel ourselves expanding in sympathy, if we love to work for theosophy and do not ask position as a reward, if we are not bothering too much about whether we are personal or impersonal, this is travelling on the path of impersonality." Beautiful words. It's one of my favourite quotes, though. So that gives a much different and more satisfying view of impersonality. It helps us to see the spiritual path in a much different light. There's a tendency to look upon theosophy as something heavy and overly serious. But if we take the attitude of the quote by Robert Crosby, they have a completely different view of things and can see it from a completely different angle. Practically, it is a soul-freeing experience. There's always hope, no matter how difficult life seems to get at times. So just to recap on certain points and do a bit of summing up, there is something within each one of us that takes no note of conditions, but finds its strength in something deeper. It's important to remember that this is who we are, what we are in reality. In this world, we live a false life, moulded by education and society in general. We are made to fit into pigeonholes. We become a collection of names and concepts that are not our own, so that we slot into the world created by others, based on materialistic ideas and the cult of the personality. It takes something either traumatic or wonderful to take us beyond all that and to see our true self in a transcendental divine life, as the Mahachohan says. This is our natural life. It's not weird or mystical, really. It's just how we should be when all the masks are removed. Think about it. Are we ever able to be what we are with all the pressures and distractions that life throws our way? Perhaps in quiet moments of meditation or out in nature, we have intimations of our immortality. These rarely last for very long. It's always very useful to be alone sometimes too. If you go out into the countryside with others, you may lose some of the benefits with meaningless conversation, unless we are lucky enough to be out there with a twin soul, with whom we are able to share the beauty. Nowadays, people seem to prefer the counterfeit world of the internet to the real one, and are too engrossed with their phones to be aware of the wonders around and within them. Above all this miasmic thought and emotion shines the radiant sun in a sky of azure blue, where those able to soar can breathe freely in the light of pure love. Yet we should not be too critical of human nature. Most of us have a longing for something more permanent amidst the ever-changing kaleidoscope of life. We too often fill this longing with transitory objects, ideas and thoughts. What is eternal in us awakens us in many ways. It transforms us into real human beings, expressing in our lives the spontaneity of being, alive with an inspiration of our own as our guiding light. There may be a gap between speaking about living a spiritual life and actually putting it into practice. It is easy to use words, but difficult to actually manifest them in our day-to-day lives. With all the pressures of modern society and the instantaneous reactions we have to certain situations that override any noble thoughts we may entertain in our quiet moments alone, when we have time to reflect unchallenged. The Theosophical Masters always told us to try. In the final analysis, that is all we can do. With persistence, we can reach that calm centre no matter where we are and in what set of circumstances. Everything is a learning process, but nothing really is a mistake if only we use it in the right way to gain more understanding of our true nature and that of others. Failures can become successes. We can always turn the mind around if we so wish and bathe it in the light of the pure spirit. We are only limited by the misunderstanding of that true nature and the limitless potential that is ours for the taking. Love and peace are words that are used almost ad nauseum in the world today. Do we really know the power of these words when transformed into positive actions for the good of humanity? Do any of us really understand the sacrifices made by so many to make them a living reality in our daily lives? They are the alchemy that will transform this planet into a golden age of light, if only we make the effort to comprehend what they really mean beyond the mere words. The world thrives on noise and disharmony. The universe exists in a state of tranquility and serenity. We are that universe. Microcosms of the macrocosm. We have all the powers of that universe within us, waiting to manifest and bless and save humanity. The heart is the centre of spiritual consciousness. Let us radiate out from that sacred place the vibrations that will help to bring peace to this troubled earth, and not be put off by the seeming impossibility of the task. Spiritual powers are countless times more potent than material ones, as I've said before, and it is essential to be aware of this. This is our talisman. The influence of our divine nature manifests in our daily lives as a purified conscience, highly sensitive recognition of the sufferings of others caused by their ignorance of their true being, and a love and compassion for all sentient beings as emanating from returning eventually to the same source. Also, we can see that no matter what events befall us in our lives, whether we designate them good or bad, if we have the right attitude, if we have as our line of life meditation the desire to live in the light of our higher self, then all that comes to pass is to help us to realise that we are denizens of eternity and children of the light. Denizens of eternity and children of the light. Our reaction to and our assimilation of the lessons learned to help us on our pilgrimage become of paramount importance. All of life is a learning process, and then we use life's experiences to further our understanding of our true nature and that of our fellow creatures. I think we should take heart from the fact that a real part of us is untouched by all that goes on in the world around us. This is the real message I need to get across to everyone. In the final analysis, those on the side of the good, the true and the beautiful cannot be defeated. If there are those who kill the body, they cannot kill the soul. They only sever their connection with their own soul. That's the true death. People kill themselves in their soul by doing these terrible deeds. Conscience is the strict stirring of the divinity within us. To stifle that consciousness is to become soul dead. And so many in this world are encouraged to stifle their conscience and become hard-hearted. It's never become hard-hearted. Always become gentle and compassionate and loving. Always be that. And that's what the world throws at you. Generally, the world bases its thoughts and actions on wrong premises. People try to hang on to life and prolong life, not really knowing what life is. Life is life, the ever-living. It goes on forever. And this earth is one of the many most limited and constricted manifestations of that life. What we call death is actually an expansion of life, a gateway to a greater life and light, a step nearer to what we are in essence. So with this in mind, I will finish with a quote from H.B.'s message to the American conventions in 1888. And she says, "The tendency of modern civilization is a reaction towards animalism, towards a development of those qualities which conduce to the success in life of man as an animal in the struggle for animal existence. Theosophy seeks to develop the human nature in man in addition to the animal, and at the sacrifice of the superfluous animality which modern life and materialistic teachings have developed to a degree," this is very important, "which is abnormal for the human being at this stage of its progress. Men cannot all be occultists. Well, they can all be theosophists. Men who have never heard of society are theosophists without knowing it themselves. For the essence of theosophy is the perfect harmonizing of the divine with the human in man, the adjustment of his godlike qualities and aspirations, and the sway over the terrestrial or animal passions in him. Kindness, absence of every ill feeling or selfishness, charity, goodwill to all beings, and perfect justice to others as to oneself are its chief features. He who teaches theosophy preaches the gospel of goodwill, and the converse of this is true also. He who preaches the gospel of goodwill teaches theosophy." Thank you very much.